New bids from Newcastle for Benjamin Sesko and Liverpool for Alexander Isak are reported as guaranteed, confirmed. Some even believe imminent. The decisions over their futures could be speeded up as well. Some big updates this morning for you. Plus, Garnacho to Chelsea. He commits himself to joining the Stamford Bridge outfit this summer, and Arsenal in for a brand new player, a very talented centre-back, maybe a long-term replacement for William Saliba. We're delving into that. We're taking your calls. Hit the like and the share button for us right now. If you haven't done it, like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And more importantly, get that bell notification button turned on now. This is the Done Deal Show. Here we go. Good morning and welcome back to the Done Deal Show. So much to talk about this morning. There's so much to talk about. There is so much to go through. There is so much happening. Thank you to everyone who is tuning in. Thank you to everybody that's come across from the United stand. Big up to both of our fantastic, brilliant communities. Cannot thank you enough for all the support, all the time, all the dedication that you give us. So like, share, subscribe right now, please, my people. And look, as I say, there's almost so much to go through. It's a little bit difficult to even know where to start today. It's very difficult to know where to start. We're going to come on to Benjamin Sesko. We're going to come on to Garnacho. I want to start with the breaking news surrounding the situation with Alexander Isak. Let's take a look. Breaking news this morning says that Newcastle United are at least open to the option of exploring a sale for Alexander Isak by their pursuit of Sesko and Wissa. Newcastle are not going to sign Sesko, Wissa, and keep Isak as well. I think now there is a recognition. There's a recognition on the Newcastle side of Isak's determination to move. An opportunity to extract the maximum value. If the right things happen, that Liverpool offer the money and Newcastle have those replacements lined up, I think we see the move. Now, this is very significant and very important indeed, and I'll tell you why. The encouragement. Spoke about it on two different platforms over the course of the last 24 hours. The encouragement needed isn't, go on, my son, get it in, back of the net, well done, I knew you could do it. It isn't that type of encouragement like your kid taking their first steps or your dog going for a shit in the right part of the garden for the first time. That isn't the encouragement that the media were talking about. They're speaking of the actions of Newcastle and the bid, and a second bid, which is imminent, according to Ben Jacobs. We'll get onto that later, for Sesko, and of course the situation regarding Wissa. That is the encouragement. That is the real situation here. Also in the article that aggregator didn't put out, the Mouseport is also claiming that Liverpool will submit a second bid for Alexander Isak if Newcastle secure a replacement. And let's be absolutely honest, they will secure a replacement. Even if Man United win this race for Sesko, Watkins, Mateta, Jackson, Wissa, they're going to get a replacement, and they're looking for replacements. So they are looking for at least two players. It isn't so much, according to the Newcastle press, replacement for Isak, a replacement for Callum Wilson. They're looking for two replacements for Isak because they know that it's going to be very difficult to find. Like, Callum Wilson was a little bit of a unique player. I know that he had these injury problems, which diminished his playing time. But all the players they're looking at, and they're looking at two strikers, are of a higher level, including the availability compared to Callum Wilson. So they want two higher caliber players than Callum Wilson. But of course, they're going to struggle to find a player as good as Alexander Isak. So it's looking for two high quality players to replace Isak is their kind of mentality going into this. But I think what this confirms, or at least in my mind, is that there will be a new bid from Liverpool. I think this is absolutely obvious. I think this is absolutely clear to everybody. I think most of us knew that this was going to be the case in those first reports from Ben Jacobs, those first reports that said, as of now, and I mean this with all due respect to Ben, as soon as I saw that report, I almost switched off. Not because I want to disrespect Ben. He comes on my show at least once a week. Been coming on for 3 to 4 years. Met with him, ate food with him. And it's about, well, as soon as it says as it stands, you know that is a negotiation ploy. And what's been very interesting is the Geordie press. Up until the fake injury, up until Isak demanded to leave, the press very much just said, not for sale, club won't negotiate, there's a massive asking price, not selling, player loves the club, not selling. They're the media outlets that have gone the complete opposite end of the spectrum as soon as the first official bid has gone in. Now it's very much Liverpool lying, they're going to bid again. Newcastle are open to selling. They're looking at replacements. A second Liverpool bid will happen when a replacement is found. It's unlikely we're going to sign Seskos and Wissers, etc., whilst keeping Alexander Isak. There are a few Newcastle. I don't even think they'll keep Isak if they sign Sesko. I think that once Sesko, if Sesko gets done today, and we'll get onto that in a minute, I think another bid will come in straight away. So I think that is all very much... Ali says it here, it's untenable, and it absolutely is. The situation between Newcastle and Isak is untenable. He is pushed and he has forced that move and he's fighting his way out. And a lot of people will say that's terrible, it's bad form, it's disrespectful. And a lot of you are probably expecting me to be a hypocrite when it comes to Garnacho later, and I'll talk about the differences, but also why my attitude's the same. It's no different to the Wissa situation. Wissa is going to force a move, has forced a move now away from Brentford. It at least from the perspective that they are open to him going, they want the right price, but they're not going to stop his move. The player has forced a move. And sometimes players do this, sometimes they don't. Benjamin Sesko isn't forcing a move when it comes to RB Leipzig, which is very, very interesting. But look, at the end of the day, I think Liverpool are going to get their man. And I think Newcastle are going to sign some of their main targets. I think they definitely get Wissa. I think that's 100% going to happen. I'm still in the camp right now that Man United are 60, 70% likely to get Benjamin Sesko. And we'll talk about that deal a little more later in the show. But if you're just tuning in now, to reiterate the story, a big update from Craig Hope. The overarching point in his article is that Liverpool will submit a second bid for the player, but it gives a more comprehensive breakdown as to what is going on. And essentially, the only reason there is a delay here is Liverpool are posturing and Newcastle are finding their replacements. That is the only thing holding this up. And there are a lot of United fans that think, if we get Sesko, we could stop Isak leaving. Listen, I think it's laboring under a delusion. That isn't something that's going to happen. That isn't a deal that we can stop. So I wouldn't pay any mind to it. I wouldn't pay any attention to it. I wouldn't even allow that to be part of your daily football thought process, because you're only going to end up being disappointed in the end. It's highly likely Liverpool land their man. That's why Newcastle, again, if Liverpool really were going to pull away, like I've said for 3 days now, Newcastle wouldn't be bidding for these players. Not right now. Why would you if you've got Isak? You wouldn't do it. It makes no logical sense whatsoever to go after the player. And they're not really, I know Sesko's young, but he's not a baby. He's not 18, 19. If you look at Wissa and Watkins, Matetas, Jacksons, none of these players that are on this shortlist now for Newcastle were babies. But from a Liverpool point of view, I felt this all along, and I'll say it again. I think they're relaxed. I think they're comfortable, and I don't think they're worried about this situation. We are going to take your calls this morning. The link is in our description and in our live chat. It just says you want to give your opinion. There's a link to StreamYard. Call in. Be great to take your calls later in the show, and we'll come back to this talking point a little bit later. But of course, this marries very much in with the situation with Benjamin Sesko. And an update, a big update this morning, which I know Liverpool fans are following very closely, along with Man United fans as well. And that update from Ben is that Newcastle are prepared to improve their 75 million plus 5 offer to Leipzig, with optimism of a fee and structure can be agreed. Fixed fee already meets the valuation. United have also held talks with Leipzig Saturday evening. So let's break the first part of that down. Man United haven't put a bid in yet, But what we have told Leipzig, according to Fabrizio Romano, is once the player makes up his mind, we will bid. And I said last night, and I'll state this again before that information came out, I think from a Manchester United perspective, that is the right and correct way to go. That there is perfection. That is exactly how we should be operating in this scenario. And it very much should be about bidding when the player agrees to join us. There is actually no point in sending bids until that stage. We do not want to get into a bidding war. We are trying to stop a bidding war, and I like that. For instance, when Man United signed Harry Maguire, there was a bidding war between Man United and Manchester City. It got to a point where we offered a large percentage of that money up front. So Manchester United put themselves into a position where we bid more than Man City were willing to, and we ended up with a really bad structure that hurt us financially. Those are the types of mistake we cannot make anymore. What Man United need to do is wait for a player to agree, so it gives us a stronger it gives us a stronger stance in negotiations. We're still not respected in that way, and it's going to take time for us to improve on that. Plus, there are many other clubs that are also respected, and it becomes a bit of an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. We faced that with Brentford. We were relentless, and I love what we did, but we were up against one of the best negotiators in the world, best negotiating clubs in the world. So I like the fact that we're not doing that. Then also then says both clubs are waiting for Benjamin Sesko's decision, which is now expected quickly. So there's now this view that there is going to be an imminent decision from Benjamin Sesko about where he needs to go. Newcastle now feel in a position to move fast on the club-to-club side. United yet to place a formal bid, but one will be forthcoming if Sesko gives the green light. Leipzig aware. And that's where the whole situation changes. Because if Sesko picks a preference and says, it doesn't matter if you agree €100 million deal with Newcastle, I'm not going to sign for them, I want Manchester United, then it's one of those things where I sit there and think to myself, well, Leipzig are between a rock and a hard place. United, according to, there's actually a report that's just come out now from Philipp Hinz, who is a reporter in Germany, who has just said Man United are ready to match Newcastle's offer for Benjamin Sesko. Everything depends on Sesko's decision. And we're keeping it right. I think we will match similarly to what they've already put in. Maybe we know the base fee's okay. Maybe we'll get the add-ons right. I don't think what we're prepared to do is just for both clubs to keep bidding more and more. And that is sensible. Because you may end up wasting a week of bidding, 2 weeks' time of bidding and negotiating just for the player not to pick you. That is a complete and utter colossal waste of our time and energy. We're better off spending that 2 weeks if he picks Newcastle, pivot into Watkins or pivot into a Mateta. It doesn't really matter who. I'm just naming some players here. That is better use of Manchester United's time. So it's a very intriguing place now, this deal. One that I'm relatively relaxed about in terms of who he's going to pick. But I am excited. I like this deal. Which way is it going to go? None of us really know at this particular point. Everybody's got an opinion. I'm loving Newcastle fans online. They're sort of quote tweeting United fans that are saying, come to us with your 15th, your stadium's crumbling. This isn't the year 2000 anymore. There are United fans mocking Newcastle. There's a great amount of fun and banter and excitement surrounding this deal. And I'm enjoying it. Of course, more importantly than that, I want Manchester United to come out on top. I want us to win this negotiation. I want us to land the player. Of course I do. It'd be weird for me not to want that. I mean, why would I not want it? Yeah, that would be an absolutely crazy thing to not want to see happen. But look, as I say, from my point of view and from my perspective, I'm now believing we're going to get a decision soon. I think Fabrizio said 2 days ago the player wants to take a few days, which typically means 2 to 3, to think about his decision. We're now on Sunday. United have got a game today. Newcastle really want a resolution with the Isak situation, and this is how I think the two things kind of Brent style combined. And I feel that this is where I think we'll get a decision. I think this is where we'll get a decision from the player soon. I think this is where we'll get a decision. And what we've essentially done is we've effectively bidded this weekend as well anyway. We've told the player and we've told Leipzig, we'll match whatever bid you're willing to accept. What we're not going to do is get into a bidding war, and we're going to wait until the player makes his mind up. And if the player says, I want Newcastle, then we'll walk away. We'll take the rejection on the chin. We'll pivot to another player. We'll go to another very good goal scorer. Ollie Watkins is my preferred choice, and I also think that's who we'll go to, and we move. But what we're not going to do, and it's very sensible, and I'll reiterate it again and again and again, and our practices outside of training, our practices off the pitch will help us improve on the pitch. Same with any great family, any great organization, any great team, any great university, any great college, any great school, any great business, any great charity. The cleanliness of your offices, the efficiency of your cafeteria, the attitude and behavior of your day-to-day sort of everyday staff, all of that feeds into how good the sort of the centerpiece of your business is. In a football club, it's the team on the pitch. If all the other factors are poor, that will filter into that dressing room as we're not, the offices are messy, bins are overflowing, your maintenance teams are wasting money, the cafeteria is falling apart, the training ground's in bits, you negotiate like idiots, you're always made to look stupid in the media. If you add all these things together, you're never going to get 100% from the players. Same in any workforce, in any business. And we saw it when, in industries I worked in, when you spend some money and you do up, it might be an office block your staff are working in. Carpets are manky. There's a rat problem. We had an office once in a company I worked for. I wasn't in that office, where there was fleas in all the how the fleas got them, we don't know. But maybe from rats. Fleas all in the carpet. It was dirty. It was horrible. We sent them to a temporary offices for 2 months. The company spent about 300 grand rejuvenating the offices, new carpets, new desks, vending machines, all this great stuff. You should have seen the productivity go up when the staff came back, because they looked at it as, this company's serious. This company is trying to achieve. And I think that those things are very important. So I've always believed this, the way we operate in negotiations will have a direct impact on how we perform over the course of time. And these things are very much marginal gains. These things are very much, that might help you, a quarter of a percent there, 1% there, and this there. And you'll find that, you can improve by 10, 15% in terms of attitude, behavior, dedication. That's enough to get you over the line in a lot of games. And it's one of the reasons why Newcastle had such a sharp improvement in performances. Yes, Eddie Howe's a very good coach. Yes, they bought very good players. Their players were having ice baths in paddling pools that you buy from catalogs. Children's paddling pools with their ice baths. I've just bought an ice bath, by the way, because I keep getting such bad pains in my neck and back from training, sitting in this chair. And I've decided I'm going to do ice bath therapy just to help my body, see if it works. But you could imagine how you feel. You sign for Newcastle for 25, 30 million. You sold this dream. You turn up to the training ground, going for an ice bath, and you're in a paddling pool at the back of a building that's falling apart. How do you think those players are going to give their all every week when they see the club isn't serious? Yet the new owners came in and everything was getting upgraded. They could see, wow, this place is going to be amazing. I want to be part of that. How do you remain part of it? By running through brick walls and trying to deliver. Man United's kind of been the other way, where we've had these decent enough facilities, but we've paid people such exorbitant amounts of money. They're like, it doesn't matter if it doesn't get any better. I'm getting paid more here than I'd earn at Real Madrid. So they stay. Where at Newcastle, it was crap facilities, crap way we're run, but also for professional footballers, we're only paid averagely. If I want to stay here with the improvements and start earning big money, I've got to play better, I've got to work harder, I've got to deliver more. Footballers are not motivated in that way any differently to you and I at work, And if you get a new staff room, new offices, clean, new bonus structure, new goals, new great things you can achieve, but they're like, listen, but we're putting the targets up and you've got to deliver. The good people will stay and work hard, and the bad people will piss off because they know they can't get away with crap anymore. So, yeah, look, we've got to behave much, much better in the window. Sticking with Man United, by the way, if you haven't done so yet, we're closing in on 600 likes. Let's get this to 1,000 whilst we're live, please. And I've said this the last few days because I don't know if it's the same people watching each time. I know it's different people. But this last week or so, YouTubers absolutely, in my word, abused YouTubers. And this isn't just me or Goldbridge or Saeed or, Lee Gunner, Rants. I'm trying to think of other names here. Just different YouTubers that are out there right across the spectrum here. United View, AFTV, all of us between Tuesday and Thursday. They weren't running ads on our videos. They're not even calculating what we've done. And I'm not someone that likes to talk about making money. This was a hobby of mine, but it did become my full-time job. And my full-time job has it made me privileged enough where I employ people. I pay panelists. I've got editors, bookkeepers. I've got, just StreamYard that I stream through. OBS, the overlay you can see, all needs paying for. And they stopped running ads on our videos. It was a mistake and an error. And what they've told us all is that none of us are going to be compensated. They said, well, we didn't run the ads, so no money was made. Therefore, no one's being compensated. And I think that's an absolute abomination from YouTube. I really, really do. So I want to thank, first of all our members. You help keep us going. All of our super chatters, you're amazing. Now, I know not everybody can afford to super chat and not everybody can afford to be a member. And I respect that. So hitting that like button and turning on that bell notification button next to the subscribe button, that helps us as well. That helps on the algorithm. That helps you see the streams when we're live. And we really do need your support. I know you guys love the community. I know a lot of you want to see it grow. I know a lot of you want to see more content, more presenters, more panelists. We have to increase the size of the channel to do that. Because everything costs money in the modern day world and prices keep going up. So I want to thank you all for doing that. So if you could hit that like button, that would be absolutely amazing. It supports us so very much. And I want to thank you all for doing that in advance. So we've got nearly 4,000 people tuning in. I want to see that skyrocket past that 4,000 mark, please. That 1,000 mark. That would be brilliant. And you are right, Rob. YouTube are terrible at this. And the fact is, they make £255 billion a year in profit, Google. I don't know how much money creators across the world lost on Tuesday, but they could afford to go, do you know what, guys? Maybe not even pay everyone what they're meant to earn. All of you are going to get whatever you earn on average per day, your business earns on per day, will pay you 60%, 70%, 80% of that. It's just they could afford to do that. They'll make it back. They're Google, right? So the fact that they're choosing not to do that for their own mistake is just hideous. You know, we're okay at the Terrace. You know, it wasn't too bad for us, but you know, I know there are some channels, bigger channels will probably hurt more. They've got, you think about AFTV and the amount of staff they have to pay. You know, I shudder. What do you employ? 20 people, 25 people? Imagine what they're all earning per year each. Add that up and what you've got to earn each day. You know, and I know people go, oh, YouTube shouldn't be about making money. Well, if you guys like the channel's growth and additional content, and you know, if you want, for instance, if you guys said, oh, Terry, would love you to have Staffy on every day. Well, Staffy's got a full-time job. If we could make that happen, but we have to pay Staffy. He can't give up his job and not be paid. How can we do that if YouTube is messing us up? So again, I just want to thank everyone who's helped us. Thank everyone who supported us. You've been a big help. Terry, does a few days make a difference? Of course it makes a difference. Of course it makes a difference. It absolutely makes a difference right across the spectrum. Could they do it again? Are they going to start doing this more regularly? All these things count. So yeah, big thank you to you. And look, when you say everything's about money, it isn't. I wish I could just make YouTube videos and not have to pay anybody. But I wish everybody had enough in the world, enough time in the world. We could all just make content and it's great. And that's just not possible, is it? You know, there we go. But thank you very much indeed. AFTV are a bunch of delusions. You need to like the channel. I've given you a point, making a point to you there. Look, let's jump into the other news that's come out today. This is around Alejandro Garnacho. And I think we've all seen the tweet. We've all seen the tweet. The post. Here it is from Fabrizio about Chelsea plan to make a move for Garnacho and Xavi. And Alejandro Garnacho has liked it. And of course, this is frustrated and this is annoyed and this is upset a hell of a lot of Manchester United fans who are fuming, who are angry, who think that this type of behavior is immature and they're losing their minds at him. And of course, that's also been updated by by Fabrizio that shows that Garnacho has given his total priority to Chelsea. Now, what this does, look, there's been no club-to-club talks yet, but that will happen later in the window, I'm sure. Alejandro also giving his total priority to Chelsea is one of the reasons we haven't sold him yet. So again, everybody getting on Ineos. Why hasn't he gone? Well, it's because he decided to move to one club and that club hasn't made an offer yet. So there's nothing we can do. We could cancel his contract and lose money. We could, what's the point in that? Whatever we sell him for, we're going to make a profit on, or we can invest that into the team. So we have to be patient here. I just don't see this as an elbow. And I get that people are frustrated with his insubordinate, immature behavior, and you're allowed to be upset and angry. I'm not. What I'm seeing is a petulant young man who's lost. He could have gone to Chelsea in January, but decided he wanted to stay. We probably should have pushed it more and got the money for him. That's hindsight. But he wanted to stay and fight for his position. But do you know what, at United? And I don't care whether you like Garnacho or not, because I rated him. I liked him. And I stand on what I said. The talent I saw in this man, I haven't changed my mind on it. I still think there's a very, very good player in there. Very good player in there. And I think he'll do well at Chelsea. But he's no good for Manchester United. When the new coaches come in, and people always say to me, Terry, where are the indicators that we're going to get better? Where are the indicators that Barada and Wilcock and co are going to turn us around? Alejandro Garnacho is an indicator. Now, we're still feeling his presence and his problematic nature overall because he hasn't officially gone yet. Because we can't force him out right now because we're waiting for the clubs to make the bids. He only wants Chelsea, so no other club is going to come in. So our hands are tied to a certain degree. But we've won. Now, I was a big fan of Paul Pogba. I was a massive fan of Anthony Martial. But Jose wanted them gone for a number of reasons. The club backed the players. And this has happened continuously since 2017. Since 2017 until now, players have nearly always won the battle. If they down tools, if they didn't run through brick walls, they'd moan about training, they'd moan about PE teachers, they'd moan about it was like a head teacher, they'd moan about Ralph Ragnick, they moan about everybody. And then as fans, when the new coach came in, we often then did revisionism. And that used to annoy me. This is an indicator. Doesn't give a conclusion, but it's an indicator. Amorim's come in and he's looked at certain players and he's gone, Rashford's attitude ain't right and he isn't performing well enough. Garnacho's attitude isn't right and isn't performing well enough. I still believe, and I've said this for years, I think a lot of the leaks that came out of our dressing room came from those two. Rashford's were like weird ones. Rashford typically didn't leak bad things. What Rashford would do when there was bad times at Old Trafford, he'd do this thing that I used to find so frustrating. He'd do this thing where it'd be like, well, there are players that are not staying extra. There are players that are not doing extra training. There are players that are X, Y, and Z. And within 2 or 3 days of those articles coming out, which I think people like Garnacho were leaking, Rashford would do this really unprofessional thing by leaking information that he was doing the right things. And it used to come across to me like someone that was saying, yeah, there were really bad eggs at this club, but guess what, guys? I'm not one of them. And it used to annoy me because it used to firm up these reports. So them two have been moved on. I think he said that Anthony, Malacia, Sancho wasn't really his issue. He was already gone when he got there. Not good enough. I'm going to listen to the previous reasons they went and they got moved out, and we're gonna move them on. And I love the fact that the club has been strong enough to back the manager. That for me, over the last 7 to 8 years, when people say has a manager been backed, everyone would look at the amount of money they've been allowed to spend and go, yep, was backed. 400 million, yep, backed. He spent 600 million, yeah, he was backed. But when you started to delve in a little bit deeper and you scratch beneath the surface, what you would find is, well, he wasn't allowed to sell those 3 or 4 players that he wanted to get rid of. Another thing I did to Jose is, well, you've had Bailly, you've had Eric Bailly, you've had Lindelof. We're not letting you buy more centre backs. You've had enough now. That isn't the way Klopp was treated. Definitely wasn't the way that Pep was treated. And the irony is, during Pep's time at City and during that same period at United, I think we've spent slightly more than them. So it wasn't even but Pep, his first 2 fullbacks didn't work. Goalkeeper didn't work. There you go. Another one. That one works. Great. Move on to another position. We never did that. That isn't backing a manager. Not allowing him to sell who he thinks needs to go. Not listening to him and saying, listen, this guy won't do the tracking. This guy won't press how I want. Or this guy won't track back how I need. You've got to move him on. Look at PSG. Look how much better they are as a club without Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe. Not because those 3 are not phenomenal players, but the collective won't play the football that you're now seeing. They won't run like Dembele. They won't run and press like Barcola and Dewey. They won't do the legs. Go back and watch Arsenal versus PSG. And look in that last 30 minutes of the game. Look at all the tracking back that Kvaratskhelia was doing. Was Messi doing that? Was Neymar doing that? Was Mbappe doing that? Not on your life. So sometimes it isn't about not recognizing talent. It's about what the team needs to be better and to be more successful. Can you imagine if Klopp knocked on a door and said, look, I've got to get rid of Wijnaldum and Henderson. Why? I need them to be workhorses in that middle. I need them to run for me and cover the fullbacks and do this. They're refusing to do it. They hate doing it. I can tell they're being lazy. The data in the stats shows they could work harder and they're not. I want rid of them. Edwards and FSG would have gone, bang, they're gone. We're getting new ones. That's backing the manager. So I'm looking at this, and as much as people are frustrated and angry at Alejandro Garnacho, I look at this situation and all I think is we won. This particular battle we won. And I feel it's the first time in a long time that we've come out on top. Now, someone said, Terry, but we eventually got rid of Paul Pogba, yeah, on a free. We should have sold. Again, I loved Paul Pogba, but forget what you think about the player as an individual, as a player. I'm not judging them as men. I'm not judging them as people. I don't know them. But the second that guy and his agent started touting him to, as soon as he started getting touted to other clubs, and I think that was in the January of 2017, sorry, January of 2018. It didn't come out until the April time of 2018, just before the Manchester derby. As soon as that came out, Man United should have been straight into a meeting with them and said, this summer you're gone. This summer you're out of here. This summer we don't want you anymore. You're not going to have. Rashford did this maybe 2 or 3 times as soon as he got dropped from the team. I think it happened under Ragnick, and then it happened again under Ten Hag a little while later. Straight away links of new clubs and looking for new this and new that. As soon as players start doing that, see you later, son. You're not being dropped for a game. You're not going to be disciplined for bad performances and then start using the media as a way of trying to engineer a move. You don't need to engineer a move. We'll give you a move. We're not having people like that in the dressing room, people that do those things. And look, we've had countless examples of this. What we shouldn't be doing to our coaches is going, we're going to get you Donny van der Beek. I don't need Donny van der Beek. I've got Bruno Fernandes and blah, 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 and Paul Pogba. Yeah, but we're going to get you in because he's an exciting name. The fans will love it. Yeah, but he doesn't fit my system. He doesn't fit what I'm trying to do. We're buying him. We did the same to Jose with Fred. Now, again, I've got no problem with these players as individuals, but we've never stopped this stuff. And that's why I sometimes I'm really jaded when it comes to talking about why Man United are so bad, because these subjects get fucking ignored by some of the biggest voices in our fan base. And I'm staggered by it, because these things don't happen in the Man United dressing room, in the Man City dressing room, in the Liverpool dressing room by and large. And when I heard Amorim say that he no longer has to fight all the small fights, he's got a dressing room that does it for him, it nearly brought a tear to my eye. Now, I said last night, I have to push back and be objective and make sure that confirmation bias is not feeding in. But I'm sitting there and I've said, for 10 years, I've debated people that have said there's no difference in our dressing room compared to any of the top and most successful teams. And I've laughed. We've had anecdotal evidence from people like Wayne Rooney of singing and dancing and carryings on the day of a defeat or the day after a defeat that never existed in the peak Fergie era. And people would defend it with, we've got to stop living in the past. These are the same amoebas, the same toaster people. And if you're new to my channel, toaster people is people I wouldn't trust making toast, that would go, we need standards. We need standards of the past. Look what we did before. We need to get back to that level. And you'll find that all the time. And that's how you know someone's a charlatan. It's how you know they're a liar. When they hate when you bring up the Fergie era to condemn players in the modern day era they like, but will use standards of things you've achieved in the past as the ultimate goal in football. So how can you take away the processes, the behaviors, the culture that led to those standards and expect to achieve them? It isn't the ability that's let us down. We've had some very good players, had some brilliant squads in the last 13 years. It's been the application of the football club. So for me, this is no dig to Chelsea, because I think your dressing room will sort him out. I think he'll do a good job for you. But from my personal perspective, as far as I'm concerned, all I'm seeing here is a player that's lost. And from a United fan perspective, we've won. And it's nothing about selling you a dud. I'm not even going to get into those childish, immature conversations on this. I'm just proud to see the way my club has operated in this particular scenario, because it's very, very important indeed. You guys are saying check out Romano. He's not said nothing new as far as I can see. So thank you very much indeed. Baz here says only the weird club purchased that worked out was Ahmad. They got lucky on that one. Yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, that was a very last minute thing because we didn't get Jadon Sancho. But even then, I don't think we had a plan for him. I didn't think we knew what to do with him when he arrived, because it was a bit of a panic. It was a bit of a panic in that regard. Imagine doing this when Fergie was in charge. Well, it wouldn't have happened. And people have said to me before, Terry, do you think you could ever be successful with the Glazers there? Well, the answer is yes, if you're run right. Because we were successful with Fergie there when we were run right day to day. We spent more money than Man City in the last decade. So the money's been there. And this isn't me defending the Glazers. They are the reason we are where we are. They've hired the wrong people to run the club. But it's things like we're seeing right now with the Garnacho situation, right now with the Rashford situation. Again, do you remember me and Staffy getting into an argument? Because I was saying to him that don't panic about these stories. The players are coming back to training. If they'd have rejoined the squad straight away, I knew this rebuild was doomed. I knew that Amorim was doomed. But the fact that we've actually stood our ground, I can't tell you how important that is to make us better on the football pitch. People, it's how you view things sometimes. Like, I remember this scenario I was in, and it was a very wealthy banker. He worked for, no, it wasn't Morgan Stanley. He worked for Deutsche Bank. And I went to see him in his apartment in Hyde Park. And I shudder to think how much his apartment was worth. Very rich man. And he wanted me to add his wife to one of his bank accounts, like a joint account. And there was a process I had to go through and had to do some onboarding with her. And he had to go at me over the phone saying, just add the details. I said, I can't. I have to come and do what we refer to in the bank as advanced due diligence. EDD, advanced due diligence. Enhanced due diligence, sorry, because of the nationality that she held. Nothing to do with me, not even a bank policy per se. It was a regulatory issue because Barclays Bank was, of course, traded on the US stock exchange. So you have to follow you have to follow a lot of the laws of the US when that happens. He had to go on me on the phone. I said, I'll come see you face to face. And he didn't get in my face, but he got quite firm with me. And I got a little bit firm back. Then I pooped myself a little bit because I just thought, this guy's so rich, he could have me killed, right? I had this little moment of, oh my God. And he said he asked me to leave. Next day, he phones me up and he had a different tone with me. Dealt with him, and then he put me across to his assistant who helped me get all the details. And his assistant said to me, he was really impressed that you stood up to him. And I was like, oh, that's good. And I remember sitting on the phone smiling. And I was probably, what was I then? It's just 10. So I was about 28 years old. So I wasn't a young kid. But in that world, I felt very young because most of my clients in the banking and business world were late 40s, 50s, very powerful men, very wealthy, minimum net worth of like $50 million and stuff. But it was like he was impressed that you stood up to him. I didn't shout back. I just said, I'm not going to do it. You can get as angry as you want. This is the process I have to follow. I'm not breaking procedure because it's only me that's going to get in trouble. You'll just get a new relationship manager. You'll get a new private banker. I'll be the one with no job who can't feed my kids. I said, I'm not breaking the rules. I said, we can either follow this process that I have to go through or your wife doesn't get added to this account. I'm not going to yield as angry and as frustrated as you get. And that was a little learning curve in life for me of when you stand your ground and you do the right thing, you don't even always get the outcome that you want, but it makes things easier moving forward in future. And ever since then, the guy, me and him got on really, really well. In fact, he introduced clients to me. And I think it was because I never asked him this question because you don't go down that line. I think it was because he went, well, he's firm. He's got a bit of integrity, et cetera, et cetera. So look, that's why I look at this circumstance and go, we will become better on the football pitch by standing up to these players because the other guys see it and take note and go, bloody hell, can't mess around here anymore. I better work hard. I want to keep earning this money. I better work hard. I want that new deal. I can't just work hard, get the new deal, and then stop playing again. They'll move me on. They'll ruin me. In fact, they might make me wait 2 years before giving me a new deal of playing at that level, not a good 6 months. And I think all of that will make Man United better on the football pitch. To be TBT to Aubameyang and Arteta and the birth of Arteta. Listen, I think what Arteta did with Aubameyang was absolutely needed, and I think it was a catalyst to you guys improving. It really, really was. Thank you for encouraging everybody, Luke, to hit that like button. A big thank you to you. Honestly, I think Enzo will end up mentoring Garnacho. And by the way, yeah, again, I think you'll walk into that Chelsea dressing room, and I think that Chelsea dressing room will have such a different feel, such a different atmosphere, such a different culture to what he's used to at Manchester United. They'll straighten him out instantly. They'll straighten him out almost instantly. He just won't be allowed to behave in that way. And I think you'll get the best out of him. I think you'll get the best out of him. I wouldn't be worried about that at all. Moving on to some Arsenal news this morning as well. This is an interesting one. Fabrizio has said that Arsenal have made initial contact to show interest in the French 19-year-old centre-back Jeremy Jacquet. I think it's pronounced Jacquet. He says Arsenal likes Jacquet, who recently signed a new deal with Rennes until 2029. He's on the list of options in cases of exits this month. And obviously we know that Kivior is a player that could leave Arsenal this following month. And I thought this was an interesting one for Arsenal because they've already gone and bought Mosquera. But I did a bit of research into this young man. And again, for 19 years old, physically dominant, he's aggressive, very athletic, very comfortable with the ball at his feet. I think he would be a very good tactical fit to the way that Arteta likes to play in terms of strong tackling, very good aerial ability. And what's really key is this young man for 19 years old is very comfortable carrying that ball out of the back. And look, we know what this is about. Kivior may move on. Arsenal may actually get quite a decent bid for him, according to some reports. And as much as Mosquera has come in, Arsenal don't want to see themselves too short in that area. We know that Arteta loves the centre-back. But this would be a relatively cheap signing if it's to be done anyway. You're talking somewhere in the region of 20 million euros. So not one that is going to massively break the bank. But yeah, an interesting. I know that some Gooners will be angry about that because they don't want to see any more defenders come in. Carl here says Jacquet is way better than Hato. I don't know about that one because I don't think enough people know too much about him. But Jeremy Jacquet, yeah, that'd be his name if he was English. But yeah, I mean, what I've read and what I've seen, really talented young player. I mean, in France, again, you always get these titles of could he be the new William Saliba? I mean, William Saliba is a little bit young to have a new version of him, but a lot of excitement around this young man. So that'll be a very interesting one indeed for Arsenal. Stuart here says bench depth, and that's exactly what it would be. Strength in depth on that bench for Arsenal Football Club, and it's what, listen, all clubs need it. At the end of the day, you can't get away from that. It is what all clubs need, that strength on the bench, especially if you're going to lose Kivior. Don says, the Don Apprentice says, I'm happy with Lenny. Yeah, Lenny Yoro has been a brilliant signing. And it's why when people say, oh, will Sesko develop? What, like Lenny Yoro? He's developed. Dorgu's already developed. Watch Kobbie Mainoo this year. And I know what's going to come out about Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo was used sparingly last year because he wasn't fit enough. He wasn't in the right shape to play Amarim's way. And Amarim didn't want to risk injuries on such a young player by making him push through those barriers. It's actually more sensible to use players that are leaving or players that will not be as integral to your team in the medium to long term. And I bet he plays a lot more games. I bet he's a lot more efficient. And I bet we see a better Kobbie Mainoo. Aiden Heaven, look how good he's done since he's arrived at Manchester United. So that's why I'm not worried about Sesko. Even when you look at who else has he improved, well, look at Joshua Zirkzee. From when Amarim arrived, it was terrible. Zirkzee was just playing badly. We didn't know if he'd even last beyond January. I'm someone that had a knee-jerk reaction emotionally and said, get rid of him in January. By the time he picked up that injury late in the season, we were starting to see a real player that could help facilitate and make Manchester United just a better team in general. So from my point of view and perspective, I'm confident of that. But yeah, I love what Lenny Yoro has brought to Man United. And I think we've got a real player there. Hato is clear. Hato is, again, a very excellent, a very talented and excellent young player. There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't deny that for a singular second. Terry offering life lessons. Well, look, I wouldn't call it life lessons. I just think it's about experience. I think it's just about experience and going through things in life. And I think that not enough time when it comes to a football team struggling. Everything's always about the tactics and the players being good enough and the manager being a good enough coach. And there isn't enough time being spent looking at the factors behind the scenes. For instance, I heard Martin O'Neill, and I've got a lot of time and respect for him, say that players don't care about projects and processes and what a team's trying to achieve. Of course they do. No wonder you're not a manager in the modern day game. Maybe that's why you didn't ever achieve your full potential as a manager, because you didn't care about that. All of that stuff's massively important. And it's the most successful clubs in the world will tell you this. And if you go through the story as a Man United fan of why Fergie came in, what they were building behind the scenes, the processes that they were going through, the fact that even when he was struggling, the likes of Sir Bobby Charlton and our board still had faith in him, no matter what the fans on the media said, is because they knew what was being built behind the scenes. They knew the processes that were in place to fix the club in the long term. Imagine we cheated that process. Imagine we wouldn't have had the greatest era in the history of English football. It just wouldn't have existed. So that's why it does work. Go and read and research what FSG, Liverpool, Edwards, Klopp, I mean, Rodgers helped start it, to be fair, did to build what they have now. There's a project there. There's a process there. The idea that it doesn't exist, I've always found it to be such a, it's all of it. It's just a dig at Arsenal. And this is why people think I defend the people. Again, people that lack IQ, they do this whole thing of like, oh, you can just defend Arsenal. They can never see the bigger picture. They can't see the bigger picture. No, I'm protecting my own club. I'm actually protecting the likes of, I'm protecting football in general. You're saying that projects and processes and having structures and cultures that clubs isn't important. It's every bit as important as how good the players are you buy. Every bit as important. Man United are a prime example. 1.3, 1.4 billion spent on players, but not one great team. Loads of talent from Di Maria to Alexis Sanchez to Paul Pogba purchased, couldn't create a cohesive, consistent team. But a team that on its, and all of those teams under each manager on their day smashing brilliant teams. But we'd beat a team one weekend, you go, come on guys, let's kick on. Why didn't we kick on? You could say manager tactics, maybe. I think it was more to do with the players maintaining the appetite to do it. And unsuccessful people, low IQ people, and or younger people that haven't had the life experience yet, they all view it, they never look at it, they never think about success being hard work. And you know this, YouTubers are the telltale point. There are some YouTubers I know that work so hard and they're so successful, but when it comes to talking about the football, they can't see that the hard work from players is more important than the talent. And I'm like, bro, yes, you're talented. Yes, you've got a great personality. But the reason you're doing so well is because you work hard. If you did one stream a week instead of one a day, you wouldn't be as successful. You wouldn't have grown the way you did. You wouldn't have the life that you have now. It's the hard work that has superseded your talent. If you imagine that you did all that energy in one stream a week, but you didn't work hard, or I stream whenever I feel like it, you wouldn't be who you are. It's the hard work. I just don't see how people can't see that. It's crazy to me. We're going to take some calls now on the show. Thank you all, by the way, for getting over 1,000 likes. You're absolute legends for doing that. You're absolutely brilliant people, and I've got so much respect for you guys for doing that. Thank you as well here to Neil, who's a Liverpool fan, asking everyone to like and subscribe. Only 1 in 3 has done it so far. So, yeah, let's get that up if we can, please. Marissa here, who's one of our members, says it's the same with every successful company. More generally, it's called governance. Absolutely. Governance is such an important part. 1, making sure people aren't breaking rules. 2, making sure standards are being upheld. Making sure people are working hard enough. And the bigger the company gets, you can carry some fat. And I worked in this team once, and they did this weird thing where they would moan about the way customers were treated, but what they would blame is the bank. The bank don't treat people well. And I used to laugh at them. Why are you laughing at us? So, well, 1, I'm leaving soon, and I can't wait to get away from this team. It's the most negative team I've ever worked in. I said, yeah. I said, but you do know that we only pick up complaints that your colleagues on the desk behind us deal with before, right? And most of the problems that have been created as to why the complaints are now with us are their laziness, their inability to research, their inability to do the right thing for the customer. A handful of things on here are bank procedures where customers are just not happy with them, but we're not actually breaking any rules. So therefore, we're not going to uphold their complaint, right? We're actually going to side in favor of the bank. 90% of the complaints, and I went, but that's your colleagues that you go out drinking with, your colleagues that you're friends with. Yeah. So I was like, why are you blaming the bank? It's you and them. You and them are the reason that the customers are unhappy. So if you actually gave your all, if you actually gave 100% every day and cared, you wouldn't even be handling most of these complaints because they wouldn't even get to this fucking stage. It's you all. They didn't like it, but it was the goddamn truth. And I think that that's the issue in this world. Too many people don't want to work hard. They want to pass the buck and somebody else can do it. And then when they don't, and then what used to happen with that same group of people, it's why I had to leave that department. I done well, spoke to my boss, and I want a new challenge because they were so draining on my mental health. Well, why haven't I had a promotion yet? Because you don't work hard enough. Plus your attitude stinks. Like your attitude, you don't deserve a promotion. This company shouldn't be paying you more money. Why? In fact, if I had it my way, I'd literally get rid of 90% of you. I'd just get rid of you. I think you're awful for the organization and you're terrible for customers and you do my nothing because you're so miserable. Can't stand people. But all of those people used to have an issue with working hard. And I think that's why I have a bugbear with people that don't recognize that hard work is so key to being successful in business, in life, in your family, in your marriage, in your sports team. Very, very important indeed. Is this LinkedIn? Could say that, mate. Could say it. Right. I'm speaking to Neil Driscoll to begin with. Jamie's then coming on afterwards. Let me just put my earphones in so I can hear everybody speaking. First up is Neil. Welcome to the show, Neil. What do you want to say, my friend?
I want to talk about Man United, Terry.
Lovely, lovely. Talk to me, Neil.
Do you think Sesko will side for us? Yes or no?
Yes.
If he doesn't, who would you like?
Watkins.
Same as me. Goalkeeper, will we get one?
Yes.
Who?
You means Lemaines?
What goalkeeper?
Pronounce.
What goalkeeper would you like?
Emi Martinez.
Would you? What about midfield? What about midfield player?
I normally the players I'm picking are players we're linked to rather than my dream, because I think that's more sensible. We are not really linked to any midfielders, which is hard.
Hackney from Middlesbrough.
I like Hackney. Now he's rejected a move to Ipswich. I think.
Yeah, I saw that.
If we don't have a lot of money for a midfielder this summer, I would go for Hackney. I think at 15 to 20 million, I think he'd join us in a heartbeat. And the fact I'm from Hackney, there's just
yeah, I got cousins in Hackney.
Top man, yeah, lovely part. Well, it wasn't.
They're Arsenal fans, though.
Yeah, you get a lot of Arsenal fans in Hackney. I was in the part of Hackney that was nearer to East London rather than North London. But yeah, I'd love him. I'd love Hackney. Are you a fan of Hackney?
I've never seen him play, so I only watch the Premier League. I don't watch a lot of other leagues. I like Watkins because he used to play for my local team, which is Exeter City. So that's what I want.
You're done in that. Well, yeah. Listen, I like Ollie Watkins, and if that's who we have to go for because we can't get Sesko, I'm not going to.
A lot of people say he's too old, don't they? But no, he'd be all right for 2 or 3 years. Listen, if we can't get Sesko.
No, I agree. I agree.
So, sorry?
I said I agree with you, mate. I agree.
Okay. That's all I got to say, really.
No, are you excited about are you going to watch the game later? Are you going to stay up and watch it?
It's early kickoff, isn't it? 10 o'clock tonight, isn't it?
10 o'clock. Earlier than the last few, definitely.
Yeah, I will, because I watched the replays of the other 2 games. Tottenham are playing Newcastle in a minute, aren't they? At 12 o'clock. Yeah, 12 o'clock.
Well, I'll give that a little butchers. Neil Driscoll, my old mate. Thank you for calling in, brother. And we'll chat again.
All right, cheers. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Jamie's on with us now. What are you saying, Jamie?
Hello, Terry. How you doing, mate?
I'm very well. Let me know who you support.
Man United.
Lovely. Good to speak to you, my friend. What are you here to say?
You too, man. I'm just going to talk about Sesko. I think the deal in general is really expensive. And I feel that if he doesn't hit the ground running straight away, there'll be a lot of pressure on him. But it's not just the price as well. I think it's the agent fees and the wages. I think it's going to be a really expensive deal in general.
Do you think he'll handle the pressure? Do you think he'll deliver?
I do, because I think he's got his career kind of planned out already. Kind of like Haaland. He kind of gives me Haaland vibes. As like he's kind of got his career planned out already, I feel like. He's not like making decisions like quick. Like he takes his time. So I think he's mature. So I think he could handle the pressure, but he's very young and we don't know how good he is.
Yeah, you are right about it. We don't know how good he is just yet. I like him. My view is, again, I know that there's a lot of people that are going to say we've ruined Pogba and we ruined Rashford, and they're right. I'm not going to deny that. But Ineos and Amorim didn't, and it is new management.
That's
and
true.
I'm looking at a lot of the signings from last year. Most did well. The younger players started to develop. Just watching Lenny Yoro in pre-season, we can all see there's going to be a player there. Doku maybe has maybe been our best player in pre-season. So I just feel that there's something different going on at the club. And as I spoke about for about 20 minutes on this video, no shade towards Chelsea. Get Garnacho. If you get him at a good deal for you, fair play. I think he'll deliver. I think he'll do a really good job there. But for us, it's a battle that the club's actually going to win against the player. The player gets the move they're happy with, and that's fine. But we haven't rolled over. We haven't allowed him to get back into the team. He hasn't got his dream.
That's an example, really.
Exactly. And I just think these things make me confident about getting someone like a Sesko. Or they make me more confident than I've been in recent years, if that makes sense.
Yes, I agree. And I do look, but I prefer Watkins, to be honest, because I feel like right now we need an experienced striker just to get us through these couple years transitioning. I think we need an experienced striker just to, I don't know, really. I just think an experienced striker is needed.
I understand that, because they're more like, I do get you being an experienced player and they're Prem proven. What about the other train of thought, which is if we don't get Sesko now and he explodes at Newcastle, do you think we might regret that in 2 or 3 years' time?
We can't really be thinking like that because obviously we have to focus on ourselves. And if he works out at Newcastle, I think the circumstances are different. I think Newcastle, there'll be less pressure on him. There'll be less, he doesn't have to deliver straight away. But with Man United, he has to deliver, whether we like it or not. The pressure will be on him straight away because of what happened with Højlund. I think because of Højlund not succeeding, I think he'll be compared to him all the time. I just think, I don't know. I think with Newcastle, it's just less pressure.
Yeah,
I think that fee will be brought up all the time as well.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, mate. I think I get where you're coming from, and I get the fear. See, that's what I like talking about. I think we should think though about how good he may be, and it's about whether we back us. I know we're jaded as fans because we've fouled with so many players we've bought in the past. But most clubs, even ones that are highly successful, Liverpool have just gone and got themselves Ekatike. There is always a thing. United are famed for buying. Some players come through our academy. Others we buy young, Rooney, Ronaldo at 18, 19, some a little bit older, developing these young players. I don't think it's something we should avoid because we've fouled it in.
I agree as well.
I think what we have to do, sorry, Jamie, is what we have to do is continue doing the right things, but deliver it better. So it's not about I fouled once. I'm not. My dad always used to. I remember once when I was a kid, I ironed my school shirt and really messed it up. And I kind of did it on purpose. And I was like, well, Dad, I can't do it. Mum will have to do it. My dad went, well, no, you can just keep doing it and doing it until you get it right. And that was a lesson for me to go, well, I better get it right next time then, because I don't want to do it 3 or 4 or 5 times. And I think there's an element there with us where we have to keep doing the right things, but we have to get better at achieving them rather than going, we failed once, so just not do it again, because the alternatives aren't there. But I hear your point.
Yeah.
You watching the game tonight? You looking forward to seeing Mbumo play?
I am. I'm really excited. The thing, I was really disappointed the first game when obviously Mbeumo wasn't starting. I was just like, I'm going to go to bed. But I didn't in the end. And it was a really entertaining game. The intensity, it was like a Premier League game almost. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how he works. With Cunha, I'm really excited. But with Mbeumo, I'm kind of still a bit confused where he's going to play. Because he's a right winger in it. So I don't know what position. Is he going to be used as more of like a versatility player? Because I don't know where he really fits in. But with Cunha, he fits in like a glove almost.
Yeah, I hear that, mate. Jamie, thank you for calling in, mate. Pleasure to speak. Make sure you phone in again.
You
Chat
too,
again
man.
soon. Take care, mate.
God bless
Thank
you.
Cal is on with us now. He's a gooner. You might be buying another centre back, mate.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Well, to be honest, I really hope if we get him, it'll be like an addition to Kivio and not getting rid of Kivio, because I really like Kivio. I think he's pretty much he's exactly what I want from a squad player. He's always available. He always does what he's asked to do. And when he comes to fit in, whether that be left back or that left center back role, he does really well. I think there's a bit of a wobble in him, but that's just because he's a sub player. He's not someone who's supposed to be starting week in, week out. You know what I mean? He's a hard worker. He's probably our best passing center back that we have. So I really hope that we don't get rid of him. In terms of us, getting prepared to get replacements, that's exactly what I want from the club. I think we should be getting young, bright talents in as replacements if people leave. And according to the reports are saying that we will get him this summer if a defender leaves, but he's still someone that we're looking at to get next year anyway. So he's already on the menu. It's just if someone leaves, it'll be accelerated. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, and he's cheap, so it's not. I don't think that's going to affect our window in terms of attackers at all. So yeah, that's what I want to see from the football club. To be honest, I don't think anyone should be losing their heads because we're linked to another defender, because it'll be like, how horrible would it be if we do all like strengthen our attack and then we get more injuries in our defense, and that's what cost us the title. If we are in a title race. So yeah, that's how I feel about the situation.
Yeah, I hear that. I think that's sensible. I think that you've always got to try and protect yourself in that way. I think that's really, really key. I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on the Sesko situation. What direction do you think this is going to go in?
I don't know. I actually don't know where he's going to go. This is probably one of the few signings where I I feel like if Manchester United put up the money, you guys will get him, but I don't think you are. I think what Newcastle is willing to spend on him might just be able to get him across the line. And I think he wants Manchester United, so because Manchester United is just a bigger club to play at. And do I think he's the right player for you guys right now? I think so, just because you've already gotten experienced players in Mbeumo and Cunha. Like, you've already gotten the experienced guys in, so you can kind of take a risk, in my opinion, on Sesko, with the way that Amorim is doing things and the fact that he is kind of developing young talent at the club already. So he's already has a bit of tenure developing players with the little time that he's had there. So I think that would probably be a good idea. You guys aren't going in for a title right now, so I think you could, because you've gotten the Mbeumo and Cunha deals on across the line, and that's the experience. I don't think it's 100% necessary to go in for a Watkins over a Sesko. If you both could just pick one, I think going for Sesko is probably the better idea.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And the Isak situation does seem now like Liverpool will be putting that next bid in, listening to the Newcastle press.
Yeah.
Do you think that will happen?
I think it's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be easy. It's still the most, I call it probably the most difficult deal to get done in the transfer window across any club. I think if Liverpool do get it across the line, it'll be a massive achievement to the board and to whoever is involved in the negotiations. But it's just because of the money that Newcastle is asking for the player. I think because he has 3 years on his deal left, for some reason, I think Newcastle's probably not going to bend over and take £120 million bid. I think it's going to take probably 125 plus add-ons or 130 plus add-ons pounds to get him across the line at this point. Because even from Newcastle's perspective, they have been getting bullied around a lot this summer, and I think just bending over and taking like 110 or 115 for Isak, just because he throws a tantrum and he has 3 years left on the deal, I think that's just such a really bad precedent. I think if they get rid of him, they should kind of hold firm for their evaluation, and I think Liverpool should they should be negotiating a lower deal as much as they could. But if they're willing to spend the money, I think it definitely happens. I don't think it's going to take a full £150. I think it'll probably be like 130 plus add-ons. I think we'll get the deal done.
Well, there we go. Listen, Cal, I appreciate you calling in as ever. I want to thank everyone who's tuned into the show, everyone who's liked, everyone who has subscribed to the Football Terrace today. Always means a great deal. Remember, though, to like and subscribe and get that bell notification button is very, very important indeed for you guys to turn on. 1 second. Very, very important for you guys to turn on. We're going to be back later this afternoon around 5 ish PM. This video is going to redirect you to that, so go there now. Just get it liked, get all your get it all ready, get it bookmarked and all of that sort of jazz ready for a little bit later when we're going to go live. So it'd be great to see you all back around 5 PM UK time. So this will redirect you there now. Until next time, people, take care. Actually, by the way, we just had a new membership come through right at the end from the Don's Apprentice. Thank you very much. It means a great deal to us that you're doing that, my friend. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you in about 5 hours. Take care. Peace.